In my part of the world, we shed tears not because we are weak. We cry because we have been tough for so many years. Out here, we do not know much about fairness or equality. The rule of law almost doesn't exist. Here, all we have grown to know is intimidation, fear, arrest, and torture. We are used to disappearance and brutal killings. Now, death does not even scare us. Our lives are a constant uncertainty. We have learned to live one day at a time, hoping for a change we know is not going to come. Everything that is ours, even our human rights, get taken away from us. When we complain, the wicked regime descends on us without mercy. The regime is above the law. They get away with everything. We are a peaceful people, and mostly, we are taken for granted. However, we know how to fight for our rights, and our oppressor is frightened by our unity and determination. They know the truth, yet choose to distort history. But how did we get here? How did we even get to the point where the government ultimately had to shut down our internet?
About 2016, an outspoken, fearless, and angry opposition member of parliament took to the floor and in a very prophetic, stern tone spoke the words that eventually killed the fear of arrest, torture, or even death among the people of the two Anglophone regions of Cameroon. Honorable Weber Joseph from Jakiri in Bui Division seemed to have given a new meaning to the word resistance. He indisputably stirred up and boosted a new wave of self-determination among the people of southern Cameroon. This spirit continues to grow from strength to strength.
The problem we have in West Cameroon is the problem that will bring down Cameroon. If you do not handle it well, you will not know Cameroon as it is in a few months or in a few years. When people have had pent-up anger and pain, humiliation, for over 50 years, when it bursts out, you will never be able to control it. Because you have your army of occupation out in West Cameroon, you believe that when the people will rise, even if you took the whole of the French army and added to yours, you will never bring them down.
And just like that, the Honorable's prophecy came to pass. Things speedily began to spiral out of control. In the last 18 months, the English-speaking regions of the northwest and southwest of the Republic of Cameroon have been the grounds of protracted protest. Strikes by the lawyers of the common law extraction and Anglophone teachers prompted people from different walks of life to express a general discontent with the poor treatment Anglophones have been subjected to. The lawyers decided to carry out a peaceful demonstration on the 8th of November 2016 in Bamenda. But they were met by police officers and gendarmes who dispersed them with tear gas, brutalized them, taking off their wigs and robes by force. As a result, the lawyers' and teachers' strike action was prolonged indefinitely. By the same measure, the people's disgruntlement with the government continued to worsen. At this point, Issa Chiruma Bakari, the Minister of Communication, repeatedly stated that the protests were as a result of external influence and that social media is a new form of terrorism.
Cyberspace is the channel that I consider to be one of the most harmful as far as the image of the nation is concerned. Because most of those who use this channel of expression to talk about their country, they give the impression not to be happy with their nation. But as far as the cyber is concerned, we have a problem with people who are behind, because you are dealing with people whom that you cannot see. They always blackmail. They want to take hostage. They want to defame their nation. The reason why we say that what they are doing is completely wrong.
Of January 2017, in a truly remarkable act of fascist desperation, the government of Cameroon decided to completely shut down the internet in the northwest and southwest regions. The people of these two English-speaking regions experienced and endured what is now, officially, the longest internet blackout ever recorded in history. The Minister of Communication, now notoriously known as the Minister for Propaganda, gave the most bizarre explanation that the internet was cut off because Anglophones still needed to learn how to use it.
You shut down internet is what they will call it international or collective punishment. You're punishing the peoples of the southern Cameroons for what? We have a war in the north, the three northern regions have been affected. Has internet never been disconnected? If it happened in Douala or in Yaoundé, if this uprising or this protest took place in Douala or Yaoundé, would you shut down the internet? How do you shut down the internet for at least 8 million people? And you think that we would sing hallelujah and sing your praises? It is farcical. It is gross and systematic violations of the rights of the people. Our right to have access to internet, to information, it's sacrosanct. And you violate it because you are threatened by people clamoring for their basic rights.
Renowned practicing lawyer Barrister Ben Muna, whose chambers has been defending hundreds of detainees linked to the Anglophone crisis at the military tribunal in Yaoundé, also strongly condemns the government's cruel decision to cut off the internet in the northwest and southwest regions.
By cutting the internet from the people in the northwest and southwest region, the government was punishing the people of that region, whether or not they were guilty of any perceived crime which the government was trying to prevent at the time. This was a breach of the treaty against collective punishment.
And just like the Minister of Communication, the Secretary General in the office of the Governor of the Northwest region attempted a lame justification for this blatant discrimination.
Policy matters are handled in a very serious and in a very delicate way. You have a situation room. You have key stakeholders who come and sit. Experts in development, experts in communication, experts in security, experts in administration, who come and sit in a situation room. If in the situation room an objective analysis is made and the conclusion is made that internet is causing us more harm than good, we have to suspend it. We cannot allow internet to destroy the very fabric of our society. If your hand causes you to sin, cut it off. So the Bible says.
First of all, I don't believe the situation room story. I don't. Because when you sit in a situation room, you have data, you have analysis, you have your collected opinions from the people. So people who sit in a situation room are not deciding according to what they think in that little room. They are deciding according to what the data, what has been gathered as information is telling them. And what we have seen throughout this crisis is a bunch of people deciding according to their own mindset. I am one of the key actors in this crisis. We have been on the ground in Northwest and Southwest. We were at the center of the Bring Back Our Internet campaign. Nobody has ever contacted us to ask, what do you think?
If at any moment, internet is posing us a national security threat, we have to carry out the same exercise. Because if our nation disintegrates while we have internet, you and I will not, we are sitting here because there's peace and security, because we can move around. So you want us to have internet and lose our nation? I say no. If we can pay the price of not having internet for 1 day, or for 1 week, or for 1 month, and keeping our nation intact, I think that tomorrow we'll be proud to say we paid the price. There's always a price to pay.
The government shut down the internet in specifically the English-speaking zone in Cameroon was in the first place a clear act of discrimination. Cameroon has been a state party to the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights since 1984. Now I mention this because the key ingredients of human rights as they pertain to freedom of expression, the right to information, particularly the worldwide web, the global international information highway, all of those are understood to be part of that package. The government shutdown of the internet, as I said, in the first instance was a discriminatory move. In effect, the shutdown privileged French-speaking Cameroonians who live in a zone not part of the English-speaking zone.
International laws and covenants do not seem to mean anything to the government of Cameroon. It is a government that brazenly tramples on its own constitution, and its officials are always quick to defend it with impunity.
You use the social media to propagate hate message. You use the social media to propagate secession. You use the social media to break a country, which is bad. The internet was being used to threaten the integrity of the nation. The people who thought it wise to cut internet are patriots, people who believe in this country, people who have the Cameroon spirit.
I'm still trying to figure out what the crime was that provoked the collective punishment of internet shutdown, except to intimidate the people and to prove that the government is in charge and the people cannot challenge that government.
Renowned international advocacy organizations such as Access Now, a human rights group working to protect the rights of internet users around the world, condemned the shutdowns in Cameroon. They continue to monitor shutdowns globally.
When you think about an internet shutdown, you would think that maybe journalists or bloggers are the first person suffering from the consequences of the internet shutdown. But actually today it's very difficult to dissociate your life online and your life offline. And from all the testimonies that we collected through the Keep It On campaign with the different Keep It On partners, by collecting a lot of shutdown stories, we noticed that actually everyone is affected.
The government once again disrupted internet connection in October 2017. The interference largely affected social media platforms like WhatsApp, Facebook and Twitter. Local residents in towns like Boya and Bamenda had noticed slow or inconsistent connections to these popular communication sites. This disruption confirmed fears that the government was again pressuring mobile operators to cut internet services in the English-speaking regions in a bid to stifle revolt.
Indeed, up until very recently, usually when there would be demonstration or elections, the whole network would be shut down. But more and more, we are seeing that it's either services or either locations. I mean, the shutdowns and the disruptions are either located to services or located geographically. Like for instance, in Cameroon, it was not the whole country that was shut down, but 2 regions of the country. But there is absolutely no difference when you shut down the whole internet or when you shut down just certain services, because our societies today are so dependent on a certain number of websites, and these are precisely the websites that are shut down. There has been a sort of sophistication in the censorship, but the result is exactly the same. It's as detrimental for human rights and economies as blackouts, total blackouts can be.
Social media around the world is here to stay. They thought that the social media was affecting the way English-speaking children are feeling about the marginalization which has been going on. And in order to keep people in the darkness, they cut it off. And in spite of calls around the world, they didn't care. They did it the first time for more than 3 months, and they did it the second time. The only time they brought it back was when CAF, the African Football Association, was coming to inspect the stadium in Limbe. That's when they put it back on.
Cameroon is a divided country. Why did they decide only to focus on the Anglophone regions of Cameroon? You have had instability in the far north of Cameroon. We have had this instability of Boko Haram, far more virulent than what is going on or is going on in Anglophone or West Cameroon. Why did the government not ban or suspend internet in the 3 greater northern regions?
When you shut down the internet, it means people cannot use banks. In the beginning, they shut it down for everybody. So a lot of people survive in Cameroon from the remittances they receive from people abroad. So you had old mothers whose children send them money once a week, once a month, who could no longer get money for their food, to pay their bill, and so on and so forth.
The people of the Northwest and Southwest continue to respond to the internet shutdown in a peaceful way. They were aware it is their right to have access to the internet.
It will not work because you are talking about communication for the entire population, because you want to stop a few activists from being able to send messages to one another. What is the result when you cut off everybody? Is that you have isolated those people and you have created them into a block where a few people were feeling hurt and marginalized. Now the entire block is feeling hurt and marginalized. Cutting off the internet was a stupid thing to do, was a bad thing to do.
They wanted a shutdown, blackout total. That is where they failed. They failed because people now came out with a way to circumvent the internet ban, using VPN, using smart chat. So they failed, and they have failed woefully.
Is indeed going through a very serious crisis, and I'm sure and I know that connectivity and internet freedoms will be the only ways for the country to, to have everybody sit down at a table, talk to each other, and try to solve the problems that we have. If we don't do that, if we don't protect internet freedoms, we are jeopardizing other freedoms and stability and many other issues for the country. We as civil society organization, we may have some solutions, so listen to us and talk to us more.
It is important to hold governments into account. The governments that are issuing orders to cut off the internet, governments that are threatening internet service providers to force them to cut off the internet sometimes, even without a court order. They need to be held accountable. And so it's up to all of the actors concerned, and not just civil society, to act together so that they're held accountable and they cannot get away with suppressing dissent, with curtailing access to information, and with cutting off the internet or specific services that have implications way beyond freedom of expression.
I believe, as an article of faith, that when there's a conflict, the best way to resolve it is by talking. In our case in Cameroon, we've not even started talking. So I'm saying we now need to trigger the mechanism that opens up the possibility for talking.
The solution is really for these governments to stop fearing openness. There is no point in fearing openness as of today, but instead work with organizations who know the challenges that governments are facing, but also can come up with solutions to counter these challenges and to overcome them. So yes, I think the key idea is really discussion with different set of actors. Don't think that as a government you have the solution. You don't, because the network does not allow this. The network wants everybody to work together. We have to at some point. So yes, we think the only solution is discussion, dialogue, collaboration whenever possible, and yes, as much as possible, try to prevent yourself as a government, as a state, from hindering progress and from stifling basically the expression of the citizens. There is no point in the 21st century to do that anymore.